Security! Get these filthy kids off my property now! Mr. Sterling's voice boomed as he stormed out of his mansion. He saw 3 boys in tattered clothes dancing wildly in front of his daughter Chloe's wheelchair, and his mind immediately jumped to the worst conclusions. He was about to physically drag them away, his face contorted with rage, ready to protect his silent, vulnerable daughter from these intruders. What he didn't know was that he wasn't witnessing a threat. He was witnessing a miracle. But before we see how these boys make him eat his words, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into the full story. Hey, look! It's the Mirror Boys! A young girl shouted, pointing at 3 identical teenagers performing precise dance moves in perfect unison. The morning sun cast long shadows across the busy street corner in downtown Austin. Leo, Caleb, and Noah Thompson moved as if they shared a single mind, their bodies flowing through complex movements that seemed impossible for 3 separate people to synchronize so perfectly. Final turn, and now, Leo whispered to his brothers. The 3 16-year-old boys leaped into the air simultaneously, spinning once before landing in a dramatic pose. A small crowd had gathered, and several people dropped money into the worn baseball cap placed strategically on the sidewalk. "Thank you, ladies and gentlemen," Noah called out with a wide smile. "We'll be here again tomorrow." As the crowd dispersed, Leo quickly collected their earnings while Caleb kept watch for police who might chase them away. This corner near the business district was their best spot. Busy executives with money to spare and enough of a conscience to notice 3 homeless kids with extraordinary talent. "How much?" Noah asked, still breathing hard from their performance. Leo counted quickly. $27.35. Not bad for a Tuesday morning. Caleb nodded. Enough for food today, at least. The 3 brothers looked identical at first glance. Same height, same dark hair, same brown eyes. But those who watched closely could spot the differences. Leo, the oldest by 4 minutes, had a small scar above his right eyebrow. Caleb, the middle triplet, had a more serious expression and observant eyes. Noah, the youngest, moved with natural rhythm even when standing still. "We should try the spot near the university this afternoon," Leo suggested as they walked away. Students just got their loan money. 2 years had passed since the house fire that took their parents. 2 years of fighting to stay together when the foster system wanted to separate them. 2 years of learning to survive on the streets of Austin. They made their way toward Congress Avenue Bridge, carefully checking that nobody followed them to their hidden spot underneath. The small area they called home contained 3 sleeping bags, a plastic bin with their few belongings, and a tarp for rainy days. "I need to wash this shirt," Caleb said, digging through their shared clothes. "Got an important math test tomorrow." Despite everything, the triplets had maintained perfect attendance at school. The library computers let them complete homework, and they took turns washing up in public restrooms. No one at school knew they were homeless. They'd become experts at hiding their situation. Noah practiced new dance moves while Leo divided their money. $10 for food today, the rest goes to the emergency fund. They'd learned to be careful with money since the day they ran away from separate foster homes, determined to stay together as their parents would have wanted. Leo sometimes still had nightmares about the fire. The smell of smoke, the screaming, the firefighters holding them back as their house burned with their parents inside. The official report called it an electrical accident, but that didn't ease the pain of becoming orphans overnight. "Thinking about them again?" Caleb asked quietly, noticing Leo's distant expression. Leo nodded. "Just remembering Mom's birthday is next week." "We should get flowers," Noah suggested. "Leave them at the cemetery." "Maybe," Leo said, though they all knew flowers meant less money for food. 5 miles away, in a very different part of Austin, James Sterling sat in his home office staring at spreadsheets on his computer screen. The numbers blurred together as his attention drifted to the window overlooking his expansive garden. His 12-year-old daughter Chloe sat alone in her wheelchair beside the fountain, staring at nothing in particular. The garden's perfect landscaping and blooming flowers created a beautiful scene that contrasted sharply with her stillness. "Mr. Sterling?" His assistant Sarah knocked on the open door. "The specialist from New York is here." James rubbed his tired eyes. "Send her in." Dr. Miller was the 7th specialist he'd hired since the car accident 14 months ago. The crash had taken his wife Caroline and left Chloe paralyzed from the waist down. But the physical injury wasn't what worried James most. It was the fact that Chloe hadn't spoken a single word since that terrible day. "Mr. Sterling, I've reviewed Chloe's file," Dr. Miller said after they exchanged greetings. "The selective mutism she's experiencing is directly connected to the trauma." "I understand that," James said, trying to keep frustration from his voice. "What I need to know is how to help her speak again." Dr. Miller glanced out the window at Chloe. "These things take time. The mind protects itself by shutting down communication when the emotional pain becomes too overwhelming." "It's been over a year," James said quietly. "Every case is different. Continue her regular therapy sessions, maintain routines, and most importantly, don't pressure her. She'll speak when she's ready." James nodded, but inside he felt the same helplessness that had haunted him since the accident. His $20 million mansion, his technology empire, his wealth, none of it could fix his daughter. After the specialist left, James walked out to the garden. Chloe didn't look up as he approached. Her auburn hair, so like her mother's, hung limply around her pale face. "The flowers look nice today," he said, knowing she wouldn't respond. "Maybe we could have lunch outside." Chloe continued staring at a butterfly resting on a nearby flower. James sighed and checked his watch. "I have a conference call in 15 minutes. Sarah will bring your lunch out here if you want to stay." He touched her shoulder gently before walking back toward the house, a familiar ache in his chest. Sometimes he felt as though he'd lost both his wife and his daughter that day. Meanwhile, the Thompson triplets had spent their morning looking for odd jobs before their afternoon dance performances. They were counting their earnings on a street corner when a gust of October wind snatched a $50 bill, the largest tip they'd received in weeks, from Leo's hand. "No!" Leo shouted as the bill flew into the air. The brothers chased it frantically down the street, watching in horror as it sailed over a high stone wall. "That's our food money for 3 days!" Caleb said, staring at the wall. Without hesitation, Noah ran toward the wall. "Give me a boost!" Leo and Caleb formed a human ladder, helping Noah climb to the top. Leo quickly followed, then reached down to pull Caleb up. "Whoa," Noah whispered as they peered over the other side. Below them stretched the most beautiful garden they'd ever seen. Perfect green lawns, trimmed hedges, colorful flower beds, and a large fountain dominated the center. "I see it!" Leo pointed to the $50 bill caught against a rose bush. They dropped down carefully onto the soft grass, then froze. Near the fountain sat a young girl in a wheelchair, staring at a butterfly. She hadn't noticed them yet. "We should get the money and leave before someone calls the police," Caleb whispered. Leo nodded, but as they crept toward the bill, he kept glancing at the girl. Something about her stillness bothered him. She looked so sad and alone in that big, beautiful garden. Noah retrieved the money, but instead of heading back to the wall, he turned toward his brothers with a familiar spark in his eyes. "No," Leo said firmly. "We need to go." "Look at her," Noah insisted quietly. "She looks so sad." Caleb studied the girl. "We could scare her if we approach." "We won't talk to her," Noah said. "We'll do what we do best." Leo understood immediately what his brother meant. "A dance? Here?" Noah nodded. "Just a short one, something gentle." Against his better judgment, Leo found himself agreeing. They moved into a position where the girl could see them, careful to keep a respectful distance. "Ready?" Noah whispered. 5, 6, 7, 8. The triplets began to dance, their movements slow and graceful. They'd performed this particular routine hundreds of times, a peaceful sequence that told a story of hope and connection. Their perfectly synchronized movements gradually caught the girl's attention. Her head lifted slightly, eyes widening as she watched 3 identical boys dancing in her garden. For the first time in 14 months, something had broken through Chloe Sterling's silent world. Chloe's laughter echoed through the garden, a sound so unexpected that James Sterling stood frozen in place. His hand trembled as he lowered the phone he'd been about to use to call security. For 14 months, his daughter had been locked in silent darkness. And now this, a burst of joy from his broken child. "More," Chloe whispered, her voice raspy from disuse. She pointed at the 3 identical boys who stood shocked by her response. "More, please." The triplets exchanged quick glances, unsure what to do next. The tall man in the expensive suit was staring at them with an expression they couldn't read. Was it anger? Shock? They tensed, ready to run. "Wait," James said, his voice thick with emotion. "Please don't go." Leo stepped forward, positioning himself protectively in front of his brothers. "Sir, we're sorry for trespassing. We were just trying to get our money that blew over the wall." "Your money?" James asked. "A $50 bill," Noah explained. "The wind took it." James looked at his daughter. Chloe was watching the boys intently, a spark of interest in her eyes that he hadn't seen since before the accident. "I don't care about trespassing. Would you come inside? Just for a little while?" James gestured toward the house. "I'd like to talk to you." The triplets hesitated. "It's safe," James added, recognizing their wariness. "I just want to understand how you made my daughter laugh." Leo turned to his brothers, having a silent conversation with just their eyes. After a moment, he nodded. "We'll come in for a few minutes," Leo said, "but we need to leave before dark." Inside the mansion, the triplets tried not to stare at the high ceilings, expensive artwork, and perfect furniture. Noah's eyes darted from exit to exit, an old habit from foster homes. Caleb memorized the layout, counting steps between doorways. Leo kept close to his brothers. James wheeled Chloe into his wood-paneled study and invited the boys to sit on a leather couch. They perched on the edge, ready to bolt if needed. "I'm James Sterling," he began. "This is my daughter Chloe. She's 12. She hasn't spoken since a car accident 14 months ago." "Until now," Leo said, glancing at Chloe. "Until you 3 danced for her," James agreed. "I'd like to know who you are and how you ended up in my garden." Leo straightened. "I'm Leonardo Thompson. These are my brothers Caleb and Noah. We're 16. We perform dance routines around the city." "For money?" James asked. "To survive," Leo replied without shame. "We're homeless." James noted how the other 2 boys let Leo speak for them. "Where are your parents?" "Dead," Leo said flatly. "House fire 2 years ago. No other family." "Foster care?" James asked. "They separated us," Noah spoke up. "Different homes." "We ran away," Caleb added quietly. "We stay together no matter what." James watched them carefully. Their clothes were worn but clean. Despite their situation, they carried themselves with dignity. "Are you hungry?" he asked. 20 minutes later, the triplets sat at the kitchen table while the housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, served them sandwiches, fruit, and milk. They ate slowly, with careful manners. James noticed them discreetly wrapping portions in napkins and slipping them into their pockets. "You can take food with you," he said. "You don't have to hide it." The boys froze, caught in the act. "Sorry," Leo said. "Habit." Chloe sat nearby, watching everything. When Noah smiled at her, she didn't look away. "I have a proposition," James said. "Would you be willing to come back tomorrow? To dance for Chloe again? I'll pay you." The triplets tensed. "We're not charity cases," Leo said firmly. "I'm not offering charity," James replied. "This would be a job. Professional services. Chloe has had 7 specialists try to help her speak again. You 3 did more in 5 minutes than they did in months." The brothers exchanged looks. "How much?" Leo asked. $100 per visit, James offered. For 1 hour of your time." Noah's eyes widened. Caleb looked suspicious. "Why would you pay that much?" Leo asked. James looked at his daughter. "Because I'd pay anything to hear her voice again." When the boys left an hour later, James immediately called his lawyer, Richard Morrison. "I need background information on 3 teenagers," he said. "Triplets named Leonardo, Caleb, and Noah Thompson, approximately 16 years old. Parents died in a house fire about 2 years ago. They've been homeless since then." "May I ask why?" Richard inquired. "I'm considering hiring them to help with Chloe's therapy," James said. "She responded to them." "She spoke?" Richard sounded shocked. "Yes," James said, watching through the window as the 3 identical boys walked down his driveway. "She laughed and asked for more." The next morning, the Thompson brothers stood in a parking lot with dozens of other men, mostly immigrants, waiting for contractors to drive by offering day labor jobs. "Should we really go back to Sterling's place?" Caleb asked, sketching in a small notebook. $100 for 1 hour, Leo said. "That's more than we make in 2 days of dancing." "I think we should," Noah said. "Did you see how Chloe looked at us? Like she was waking up." "It's not just about the money," Leo admitted, "but we can't get too comfortable there. People like Sterling don't let people like us into their world without a reason." A pickup truck stopped nearby and the driver selected 4 men for a landscaping job. The triplets were too young to be chosen. "No work today," Leo sighed. "Let's head to Sterling's." That afternoon they returned to the mansion. Security guards watched them closely but let them in. Chloe waited in a sunroom filled with plants and light. She smiled when she saw them. "Hello?" Leo said with a small bow that made her giggle. "We've returned for an encore performance." "Dance?" she asked. 3 words in 2 days, James realized with amazement as he watched from the doorway. "Of course," Noah said, moving furniture to create space. "But first, knock knock." Chloe tilted her head. "You're supposed to say, 'Who's there?'" Leo explained with a smile. "Who's there?" Chloe whispered. "Boo," Leo said. "Boo who?" she asked, following along. "Don't cry, it's just a joke." Leo finished with a theatrical bow. A tiny smile appeared on Chloe's face. James felt his heart squeeze in his chest. Caleb approached next, kneeling beside her wheelchair. "I drew something for you." He opened his notebook to reveal a sketch of Chloe in her garden with the butterfly from yesterday resting on her hand. "Pretty," she said, touching the page gently. Noah took his position in the cleared space. "Today I thought maybe you could dance with us. Just with your hands." He demonstrated a simple movement. "Like this." Chloe hesitated, then mimicked his gesture. "Perfect." Noah beamed. "Now try this one." From his hidden observation point, James watched as each brother connected with Chloe in a different way. Leo with humor, Caleb through art, and Noah via movement. After an hour had passed, he entered the room. "Time for your physical therapy, Chloe," he said gently. "Tomorrow?" Chloe asked, looking at the triplets. "You come tomorrow?" James glanced at the boys. "If they want to." "We'll be here," Leo promised. After they left, James read the preliminary report Richard had sent. It confirmed everything the boys had said. Parents died in a house fire, no living relatives, ran away from separate foster homes. School records showed they'd been excellent students before the tragedy. Current status: missing from the system. That night, dark clouds gathered over Austin. The triplets huddled under their tarp beneath Congress Avenue Bridge as rain began to fall. By midnight, water poured through the structure, soaking their sleeping bags. "We need to move!" Leo shouted over the thunderclap. "The creek's rising too fast!" They grabbed their few possessions and climbed to higher ground, ending up behind a shopping center under a small awning. Cold and wet, they pressed together for warmth. "We can't keep living like this," Caleb said through chattering teeth. Noah stared into the darkness, watching lightning illuminate the flooding below. Suddenly, he sat up straight. "What if this isn't just about the money?" he asked. "What if we're exactly what that little girl needs to heal, and what if they're exactly what we need too?" Leo stared at his younger brother through the darkness. Noah's words hung in the rain-soaked air between them. The thought had already been forming in Leo's mind too, though he'd tried to push it away. "We can't depend on rich people," Leo said, wringing water from his t-shirt. "They always disappoint." "Sterling seems different," Noah argued. "Did you see how he looked at Chloe when she laughed?" "He's paying us," Caleb pointed out. "This is business for him." The rain continued through the night, forcing the brothers to take turns staying awake to make sure their few belongings didn't wash away. By morning, they were exhausted but determined to keep their promise to Chloe. Over the next few weeks, a routine developed. Each day after school, the triplets would arrive at the Sterling mansion at exactly 3 o'clock. The security guards stopped watching them so closely and even started greeting them by name. "Good afternoon, Mr. Rodriguez," Leo said to the guard who opened the gate. "Boys?" The guard nodded with a small smile. "Miss Chloe is waiting in the sunroom." Inside, they found Chloe sitting with her math textbook, her face tight with frustration. "Fractions giving you trouble?" Leo asked, sitting beside her. Chloe nodded. "Hard." "Let me show you a trick," Leo said, taking her pencil. He worked through the problem step by step, explaining each part in simple terms. "I get it now," Chloe said after several minutes, her voice growing stronger with each day of practice. While Leo helped with homework, Caleb set up an art corner in the sunroom. He'd brought his own pencils today, a gift from James, who had noticed him sketching on napkins. "What should we draw today?" Caleb asked Chloe after she finished her math. "The bridge," she said. "Where you live." The brothers exchanged quick glances. "How about we draw something happier?" Caleb suggested gently. "No," Chloe insisted. "I want to see." Caleb hesitated, then began sketching Congress Avenue Bridge. He didn't include their makeshift home beneath it. Noah used this time to clear space in the center of the room. "Ready for dance practice?" he asked when the art session finished. Chloe wheeled herself to the open area. Noah had been teaching her upper body movements that worked with her wheelchair. "Remember this one?" He demonstrated a fluid arm motion. Chloe copied him perfectly. "Amazing!" Noah praised. "Now let's try something new." "Your chair can be part of the dance." He showed her how to use the wheels to spin in rhythm with the arm movements. Chloe's face lit up as she mastered the technique. From his office doorway, James Sterling watched the interaction. He'd started rescheduling his afternoon meetings to observe these sessions. On his desk, a spreadsheet tracked Chloe's progress, words spoken per day, smiles counted, new movements attempted. Later that evening, after the triplets had left, James sat with Chloe at dinner. "You're improving quickly with your exercises," he said. "Noah says my chair is a dance partner," Chloe replied, speaking her longest sentence in months. James set down his fork. "You like them? The Thompson brothers?" Chloe nodded. "They see me. Not just my chair." The next morning, the triplets stood in line at the public library before it opened. School assignments required computer access, and the library provided it for free. "We should get there early today," Leo reminded his brothers as they worked. "Mr. Sterling said Chloe has a doctor appointment at 4. "You guys go ahead," Noah said, typing quickly. "I need to finish this essay." "Don't be late," Leo warned. At the shelter entrance that afternoon, a notice greeted residents. "Closing for renovations. 2 months, starting Monday." "Where will we go?" Noah asked quietly. "We'll figure it out," Leo said, his mind already calculating options. "Don't mention this to Sterling." "Why not?" Caleb asked. "Because it's not his problem," Leo insisted. "We're not his charity case." At the Sterling mansion, Chloe seemed quieter than usual. "Everything okay?" Leo asked as he helped her with science homework. Chloe hesitated, then whispered, "Can I ask about your mom and dad?" The brothers froze. They rarely spoke about their parents, even to each other. "What do you want to know?" Leo finally asked. "Were they nice?" Chloe asked. Noah smiled sadly. "Mom was a nurse," she sang while she cooked dinner. "Dad built things," Caleb added. "He made us a treehouse." "Mom called us her miracle triplets," Leo said. "She said we were proof that sometimes the best things come in threes." "She liked to dance with us in the kitchen," Noah continued, his eyes growing wet. "Dad would pretend to be annoyed, but then he'd join in." Chloe reached for Leo's hand. "I miss my mom, too." Something broke open inside Leo at her touch, a dam of grief he'd held back for 2 years. His voice shook as he spoke. The hardest part is forgetting little things, like how her voice sounded early in the morning. "Or the way Dad laughed when we told bad jokes," Caleb added. "I'm scared I'll forget completely someday," Noah admitted. James stood in the hallway, listening. He hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but the raw emotion in their voices had stopped him from entering. He understood their pain in a way few others could. That night, after the boys left, James received a phone call from his public relations director. "Jim, we need to talk about these homeless kids visiting your daughter," the woman said without preamble. "How do you know about that?" James asked. "People talk. Security guards, household staff. Is it true?" "Yes," James confirmed. "They're helping Chloe." "She's speaking again." "That's wonderful," the PR director said without warmth. "But have you considered how this looks? The board is concerned about security risks. They're teenagers who've lost their parents," James said firmly. "Not security risks. Background checks? References?" "My lawyer investigated their situation," James replied. "Everything checks out." After hanging up, James stared out the window at the darkening sky. The weather forecast predicted the first cold front of the season. The next afternoon, the doorbell rang at an unusual time. Mrs. Chen, the housekeeper, answered it. "Mr. Sterling," she called, "your mother-in-law is here." James closed his eyes briefly before going to greet his late wife's mother. Margaret Watson was a tall, elegant woman in her 60s with perfectly styled silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "I came as soon as I heard," she said, brushing past James into the foyer. "Is it true you're allowing homeless teenagers to spend time with Chloe? Unsupervised?" "Hello, Margaret. Nice to see you too," James said dryly. "This isn't a joke, James," Margaret snapped. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that my daughter is speaking again," James replied. "Playing again. Laughing again." "And it took street urchins to accomplish this?" Margaret asked. "Where are her doctors? Her professional therapists?" "They're still working with her," James explained. "The Thompson brothers are a supplement to her therapy." Margaret's eyes narrowed. "Thompson brothers? Plural? How many strange boys are you bringing into this house?" "3, James said. "They're triplets." "Triplets," Margaret nearly shouted. "3 teenage boys with no fixed address or supervision? Have you lost your mind? This is exactly why I worried about Chloe staying with you." "What does that mean?" James asked coldly. "It means," Margaret said, lowering her voice, "that I've been patient. I gave you time to grieve Caroline and help Chloe heal, but if you're making reckless decisions that put my granddaughter at risk, I will take action." "Are you threatening me with a custody suit?" James asked incredulously. "If necessary," Margaret replied. Neither adult noticed the 3 identical faces in the hallway. The triplets had arrived for their daily session and heard everything. They silently backed away and slipped out the side door. Under the large oak tree in the garden, they huddled together. "We should stop coming," Leo said grimly. "We wanted to help Chloe, not cause problems." "But she needs us," Noah protested. "She needs her family more," Leo argued. "We're just making things worse," Caleb agreed sadly. That night, temperatures dropped to near freezing in their makeshift shelter. Leo pulled his thin blanket tighter, watching his brothers shiver in their sleep. "Maybe we should stop going," Leo whispered into the darkness. "We wanted to help Chloe heal, not tear apart what's left of her family." Across town, James Sterling sat beside Chloe's bed, watching her sleep peacefully for the first time in 14 months. Her face was relaxed, her breathing even. He gently brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. "We'll figure this out, sweetheart," he whispered. "I won't let anyone take you away from this progress, not even your grandmother." November arrived with biting winds and falling temperatures. The Thompson brothers faced new challenges as winter approached. Their makeshift shelter behind the shopping center provided little protection from the cold. "Wake up! Wake!" Leo shook his brothers urgently one morning. "Someone's messing with our stuff!" They scrambled out to find 3 teenage boys slashing their tarp with a pocket knife. "Hey!" Noah shouted. The vandals looked up, surprised to see 3 identical angry faces. They ran off laughing, taking the triplets' only blanket with them. "Great," Caleb muttered, examining their damaged shelter. "Now we have to find another tarp." "We're going to be late for Chloe," Leo said, checking his watch. A gift from their father that miraculously still worked. They arrived at the Sterling mansion 45 minutes late, exhausted and disheveled. Chloe sat waiting in the sunroom, her face lighting up when they finally appeared. "You came?" she exclaimed. "I thought you weren't coming today." "Sorry we're late," Leo apologized. "We had some transportation issues." Noah tried to suppress a cough that had developed overnight but couldn't contain it. He turned away, covering his mouth. "Are you sick?" Chloe asked, concerned. "Just a little cough," Noah said quickly. "Nothing serious." James entered the room, noticing immediately that something was off. Noah's face was flushed. Caleb wore the same clothes as yesterday, and Leo had dark circles under his eyes. "Everything okay?" he asked casually. "Yes, sir," Leo answered too quickly. "We were just about to start today's session." James nodded but continued observing as Noah taught Chloe a new hand routine. The boy's movements were sluggish, and he kept clearing his throat. Later, after the triplets left, James called his assistant. "Sarah, I need you to find out if the city shelter on East Side is still operating. Someone mentioned renovations." "It closed 2 weeks ago for a 2-month renovation," Sarah reported back promptly. "The nearest alternative is 20 miles outside the city." James frowned. Why hadn't the boys mentioned this? The next day, James received an unexpected call from Thomas Blackwood, a member of his company's board of directors. "Jim, we need to discuss these street kids you've involved with your daughter," Blackwood said without preamble. "How is this company business?" James asked coolly. "Everything you do reflects on Sterling Technologies," Blackwood replied. "Several board members are concerned about your judgment lately." "My personal life is not board business," James stated firmly. "It becomes our business when you bring unknown variables into contact with your daughter," Blackwood persisted. "Have you considered the liability? The publicity if something goes wrong?" After hanging up, James had barely composed himself when Mrs. Chen announced another visitor. "Child Protective Services," she whispered, looking worried. "A Miss Porter." The woman from CPS was efficient and direct. "Mr. Sterling, we received a complaint about your daughter's care arrangements. Let me guess. My mother-in-law called you," James said. "I can't disclose who filed the report," Ms. Porter replied. "I'm here to assess whether having homeless teenagers regularly visiting your daughter presents any safety concerns." "They're not just homeless teenagers," James corrected her. "They're gifted students who've suffered a tragedy. They've done more for Chloe's recovery than an army of specialists." Ms. Porter observed a session between Chloe and the triplets, taking notes as Leo helped with homework, Caleb drew, and Noah taught dance movements despite his worsening cough. "They clearly have a positive relationship with your daughter," Ms. Porter admitted afterward, "but their own living situation is concerning. As her parent, you must consider all aspects of who you bring into her life." The following day, Chloe's mood had shifted dramatically when the triplets arrived. Her eyes were red, and she barely looked up when they entered. "What happened?" Leo asked gently. "Kids at school," she mumbled. "They said things." "What things?" Noah pressed. "About my wheelchair," Chloe whispered. "About not talking for so long." She hesitated, then added, "And about you." "Us?" Caleb looked surprised. "I told my class about my friends who dance," she explained. "Someone found out you don't have a home. Now they're calling me charity girl and saying I only have homeless friends." The brothers exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. "When's your lunch period tomorrow?" Leo asked. 11:30, Chloe answered, confused by the question. "Don't worry about those kids," Noah said with a small smile. "We have an idea." The next day, the cafeteria at Westlake Middle School buzzed with typical lunchtime chaos. Chloe sat alone at the end of a table picking at her food when the double doors swung open. 3 identical boys in clean jeans and matching white t-shirts walked in, moving in perfect unison. The cafeteria fell silent as students realized who they were. The triplets from the video that had been circulating online after someone recorded them dancing downtown. "That's them," a girl whispered loudly. "The dancing triplets." Leo approached Chloe's table while Caleb connected his phone to a small portable speaker. Noah cleared a space in the center of the cafeteria. "This performance is dedicated to our friend Chloe Sterling," Leo announced, his voice carrying across the silent room. "The bravest person we know." The music started, a popular song everyone recognized, and the triplets launched into a routine more spectacular than anything they'd performed on street corners. Their synchronized movements were flawless, their energy infectious. Students began clapping along, some filming with their phones. When the triplets incorporated movements they'd taught Chloe, they pointed to her, inviting her to join from her seat. Smiling shyly, she performed the hand routine Noah had taught her. The cafeteria erupted in cheers. By the time the dance ended, students surrounded Chloe, asking questions about the triplets and how she knew them. "They're my friends," she said, sitting taller in her wheelchair than she had in months. The video of the performance spread quickly through social media. By that evening, local news stations had picked it up. The headline read, "Dancing triplets turn tables on school bullies." When they arrived at the Sterling mansion that afternoon, James was waiting. "That was quite a show you put on at Chloe's school," he said. "Are you mad?" Leo asked cautiously. "Mad?" "No," James shook his head. "Chloe came home talking more than she has in over a year. But I'm curious why you didn't tell me the shelter closed." The brothers froze. "How did you—" Leo started. "I checked," James interrupted. "Where have you been staying?" After a moment of silence, Caleb answered, "Behind West End Shopping Center. We built a place." "A place?" James repeated. "You mean you're sleeping outside? In November?" Noah coughed harshly, unable to hide it any longer. "It's fine," Leo insisted. "We've managed worse." "It's not fine," James said firmly. "Noah is sick. Temperatures are dropping below 40 degrees at night. This can't continue." "We don't need charity," Leo said stiffly. "This isn't about charity," James replied. "It's about basic human decency. I have a heated pool house with 3 beds sitting empty while you 3 freeze every night." The brothers looked at each other uncertainly. "What are you suggesting?" Leo finally asked. "Stay here," James said simply. "The pool house has its own entrance. You can come and go as you need. Continue your schoolwork. Keep seeing Chloe. Just don't sleep in the cold anymore." "People will talk," Caleb pointed out. "Your board members, Chloe's grandmother." "Let them talk," James said. "I've received 12 calls today from parents complaining about your school visit. I've also received twice as many thanking you for standing up for Chloe." That evening, the first heavy snow of the season began falling over Austin. The temperature plummeted as the triplets huddled under their damaged tarp, trying to keep their small fire alive. "We should have said yes," Noah whispered through chattering teeth, his cough worsening. "We need to stay independent," Leo insisted, though his resolve was weakening as he watched his brother shiver. A security guard making rounds shined his flashlight on their hidden camp. The brothers tensed, prepared to run. "Hey, aren't you the dancing kids from the internet video? The ones staying with the Sterling family?" the guard asked. Leo's eyes widened in panic. Their secret was out. "You got me wrong, man," the security guard said, lowering his flashlight. "I'm not here to cause trouble." The triplets remained tense, ready to run. "My daughter loves your videos," the guard continued. "Here, take this." He offered a thermos. "It's coffee." "You boys look frozen." Leo hesitated, then accepted it. "Thanks." "Nasty night to be outside," the guard commented, looking at their damaged shelter. "You sure you got nowhere else to go?" "We're fine," Leo insisted. The guard nodded skeptically. "Well, stay warm. Storm's getting worse." After he left, Noah's coughing grew more violent. His face was flushed despite the cold. "We should have taken Sterling's offer," Caleb said, placing a hand on Noah's forehead. "He's burning up, Leo." "Let's just make it through tonight," Leo said, though worry creased his face. "We'll figure something out tomorrow." The next afternoon, the brothers arrived at the Sterling mansion as usual. Noah moved slowly, his face pale except for 2 bright spots of color on his cheeks. "You look terrible," Chloe said bluntly when she saw him. "Thanks," Noah tried to smile. "Just a cold." "Let's start with something simple today," Leo suggested, concerned about his brother. They began their usual routine. Chloe had improved dramatically over the past weeks, speaking in full sentences and showing genuine emotion. Today, she was excitedly describing her science project. "My teacher says I might win first place," she told them. "I'm making a model of the solar system that shows—" Her words were cut short by a loud thump. Noah had collapsed mid-spin, crumpling to the floor. "Noah!" Leo rushed to his side. "I'll get Dad." Chloe wheeled herself out quickly, calling for her father. James came running, taking in the situation at a glance. "What happened?" "He just fell," Caleb explained, kneeling beside his brother. "He's been sick." James touched Noah's forehead. "He's burning with fever." "I'm calling Dr. Martinez." "No doctors," Leo protested. "We can't afford—" "This isn't negotiable," James interrupted, already dialing. "He needs medical attention." Dr. Martinez arrived 20 minutes later. After examining Noah, his expression turned serious. "It's pneumonia," he told James privately. "Quite advanced. Has he been exposed to cold temperatures, sleeping outside?" James looked grim. "Apparently." "He needs antibiotics immediately," the doctor said, "and rest in a warm, dry place. His body temperature is concerning." After Dr. Martinez left, James found Leo and Caleb sitting anxiously beside their sleeping brother, who had been moved to a guest room. "Noah has pneumonia from exposure," James said directly. "The doctor says he needs to stay warm and dry." "Where have you really been staying since the shelter closed?" Leo's shoulders slumped in defeat. "In a tent behind West End Shopping Center. Our tarp got damaged yesterday." "You've been sleeping outside in freezing temperatures for weeks?" James asked incredulously. "Why didn't you tell me?" "It's not your problem," Leo said stubbornly. "Well, I'm making it my problem," James replied. "You're staying here. All 3 of you. No arguments." "For how long?" Caleb asked quietly. "As long as necessary," James said firmly. "The pool house is yours. It has heating, beds, a bathroom, everything you need." "Your lawyer won't like it," Leo pointed out. James smiled grimly. "Richard already told me it's a terrible idea. I told him I'm doing it anyway." That evening, with Noah resting comfortably under medication, James showed Leo and Caleb to the pool house. It was a spacious structure with large windows, 3 beds, a small kitchen, and a modern bathroom. "There are fresh clothes in the dressers," James explained. "Mrs. Chen will bring dinner in an hour." The brothers stood awkwardly, overwhelmed by the sudden change in circumstances. "Thank you," Leo said formally. "We'll pay you back somehow." "Just focus on getting Noah healthy and keeping up with school," James replied. "Speaking of which, your teachers sent these." He handed them a folder. Inside were their most recent report cards. Straight A's for all three. "How did you get these?" Caleb asked, surprised. "I called your school," James admitted. "I wanted to make sure you had everything you needed for your studies." After James left, Leo sat heavily on one of the beds. "This doesn't feel real." "Should we shower?" Caleb asked, eyeing the bathroom longingly. "With actual hot water?" Later, clean and fed for the first time in days, they checked on Noah, who was sleeping peacefully in the main house guest room. "We can't stay here forever," Leo whispered to Caleb as they returned to the pool house. "This isn't our world." "Why not?" Caleb challenged. "We're helping Chloe. We're doing well in school. Why can't we accept help for once?" "Because nothing good lasts for people like us," Leo replied. That night, despite the comfortable beds, the brothers ended up sleeping on the floor together, a habit formed from years of staying close for safety and warmth. The next morning, James found them this way when he came to check on them. Without comment, he arranged for maintenance staff to move the three beds together into the main room. When the boys returned from checking on Noah, they found the new arrangement. "He noticed," Caleb said, touching one of the beds now positioned side by side. "He actually cares," Leo admitted reluctantly. Over the next few days, Noah improved with medication and rest. The brothers settled into a routine at the Sterling house, continuing school and their sessions with Chloe. Slowly, signs of their presence appeared throughout the home. Caleb's artwork on walls, Noah's dance equipment in the sunroom, Leo's medical books on shelves. One afternoon, James received a call from his lawyer. "Margaret filed the custody papers," Richard reported grimly. "She's citing your housing of 3 homeless male teenagers as evidence of reckless endangerment." "She's really doing this," James sighed. "What are our options?" "We need to make this look more professional," Richard advised. "Draw up employment contracts for the boys. Make them therapeutic companions rather than house guests. They're not employees, Richard. They're kids who needed help." "I understand that," Richard said patiently. "But judges like documentation. If we show this is a structured arrangement with clear boundaries, we stand a better chance." Reluctantly, James prepared the contracts. That evening, he presented them to the triplets. "What's this?" Leo asked, looking at the papers. "Employment contracts," James explained. "My mother-in-law is pursuing custody of Chloe. My lawyer thinks this will help our case." The brothers read the documents silently. "So we're employees now?" Leo asked, his voice tight. "Not whatever we were before?" James realized too late how the contracts might appear to them. "This doesn't change anything about our arrangement. It's just paperwork." "It's fine," Leo said stiffly. "We'll sign them." The atmosphere grew tense over the next few days. The triplets continued their sessions with Chloe, but maintained a new formality with James. Meanwhile, Margaret increased her visits, making little effort to hide her disapproval. "You realize how this looks?" she told James during one visit. "A single father housing 3 teenage boys with no supervision or proper vetting. They're exceptional students who've suffered tragedy," James countered, "and they've helped Chloe more than anyone." "The judge will decide what's best for her," Margaret replied coldly. Unknown to both adults, the triplets overheard this conversation from the hallway. That night, they discussed their situation in the pool house. "We're causing problems for them," Leo said. "We should leave." "Where would we go?" Noah asked, still weak from his illness. "Somewhere else," Leo said. "Anywhere else. We're just making things harder for Chloe and James." Reluctantly, the brothers began packing their few belongings. As they stuffed clothes into backpacks, the door opened. Chloe sat in her wheelchair, staring at them with wide, frightened eyes. "You're leaving," she said. It wasn't a question. "We have to," Leo tried to explain. "Your grandmother wants to take you away from your dad because of us." "So you'll just go?" Chloe's voice cracked. "Everyone I love disappears. Mom died. Dad was always working. Now you're leaving too." Tears streamed down her face. "Please don't go. Please." The raw emotion in her voice stunned them. It was the first time she'd spoken about her feelings since they'd met her. "I can't lose anyone else," she continued, her words tumbling out between sobs. I can't. Leo knelt beside her wheelchair. "Chloe, we're trying to help." "You're not helping by leaving her," she cried. "You're doing what everyone does, going away when things get hard." James appeared in the doorway, drawn by Chloe's raised voice. He took in the scene, the partially packed bags, Chloe's tears, the boys' stricken expressions. "What's happening here?" he asked quietly. Leo began, then faltered. "They're leaving," Chloe said, grabbing Leo's hand tightly. "Don't let them, Dad. Please don't let them go." The five of them sat together in the pool house, Chloe holding tight to Noah's hand and leaning against Caleb while Leo and James exchanged a look of understanding. James made a decision that would change all their lives. "I don't care what any court or lawyer says. You boys aren't going anywhere because we're already a family and families fight for each other." "We're a family," James repeated softly the next morning as they all sat around the kitchen table for breakfast. It was the first time they'd eaten together this way, not in the formal dining room, but in the cozy kitchen nook where the morning sun streamed through windows. "So what happens now?" Leo asked, still cautious despite James's declaration. "Now we adjust," James said. "You focus on school and helping Chloe. I'll handle the legal issues with Margaret." "And our school?" Caleb asked. "We've missed several days." "I've spoken with your principal," James replied. "Given Noah's medical situation and your circumstances, they're being flexible. I've also arranged for tutors to help you catch up." The triplets exchanged surprised glances. "Tutors?" Noah asked, his voice still raspy from illness. "3 of them," James confirmed, "starting tomorrow, each specializing in different subjects." The tutors arrived the next afternoon, Mrs. Garcia for mathematics and sciences, Mr. Washington for humanities, and Ms. Patel for performing arts. After assessing the brothers, all 3 tutors reported to James with unexpected findings. "Their academic level is remarkable considering their circumstances," Mrs. Garcia told James. "Leo's understanding of biology and chemistry is at college level. He mentioned wanting to study medicine." "His mother was a nurse," James explained. "He kept her textbooks." Mr. Washington was equally impressed with Caleb. His analysis of literature is sophisticated, and his historical knowledge is extensive. Ms. Patel, after working with Noah, was ecstatic. His natural talent for movement is extraordinary. With proper training, he could qualify for prestigious dance programs. Over the next few weeks, the Sterling home transformed. Caleb's artwork began appearing on walls, first in the pool house, then in the hallways. James had several pieces professionally framed, which embarrassed and pleased Caleb equally. Noah converted part of the sunroom into a dance practice area, complete with mirrors James had installed. Leo filled bookshelves with medical texts that James ordered for him. Chloe flourished in this new environment. Her speech continued improving, and she laughed often, especially during dinner when the triplets shared stories about their dance performances around the city. One evening, as they all helped clear the table, Chloe dropped a fork. She automatically leaned down in her wheelchair to retrieve it, then froze. "What's wrong?" Noah asked. "I felt something," Chloe whispered, "in my legs. Like tingles." James knelt beside her. "Are you sure?" Chloe nodded, her eyes wide. "It happened yesterday too, during physical therapy." "That's a positive sign," Leo said, his medical knowledge surfacing. "It could mean nerve pathways are regenerating." Hope bloomed on James's face, but he tempered it with caution. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll tell Dr. Bennett at your next appointment. While their home life settled into a pleasant routine, external pressures mounted. James received a call from Richard one morning in December. The custody hearing date is set, Richard reported. January 15th, and Jim, Margaret's lawyers are building their case around the boys. What are they saying? James asked. That you've allowed 3 unvetted street youths unlimited access to your vulnerable daughter, that your judgment is compromised by grief. James sighed heavily. What do you suggest? We need to emphasize the professional nature of your arrangement, Richard advised. The employment contracts help, but we should minimize the family aspect in court, presented as a structured therapeutic relationship. They are family now, James argued. The court should see that. The court will see what Margaret wants them to see unless we're careful, Richard warned. At school, the triplets faced their own challenges. Their viral video from Chloe's cafeteria had made them minor celebrities. Some students asked for selfies or dance demonstrations. Others were less welcoming. Here come the charity cases, a voice called out as they walked down the hallway one morning. Leo ignored it, but Noah frowned. Just keep walking, Caleb muttered. Later that day, Noah went to the bathroom alone between classes. 3 boys from the hockey team followed him in. Hey, homeless boy, the tallest one called. Did Sterling give you a bath before he let you in his house? Or do you still stink like the street? Noah tried to leave, but they blocked his path. Maybe we should wash him ourselves, another suggested, moving toward the sink. The bathroom door opened and Leo entered, followed by Caleb. The 3 brothers stood side by side, a unified front. Problem? Leo asked calmly. The hockey players hesitated, suddenly outnumbered. You should be careful, the tall one said. People like you don't belong in this school. People like us? Caleb repeated. You mean straight-A students? You know what I mean, the boy sneered. When he stepped forward aggressively, Noah reacted instinctively with a move from their dance routine, a quick sidestep that caused the boy to stumble. The other hockey players jumped in, and suddenly it was 3 against 3. The triplets didn't throw punches but used their dance-honed reflexes to avoid blows and redirect their attackers. When a teacher heard the commotion and entered, all 6 boys were called to the principal's office. Principal Dawson looked sternly at the group. Fighting is strictly prohibited. I've called all your parents. We don't have parents, Leo began, but fell silent when the office door opened. James Sterling walked in, his expression concerned but composed. Mr. Sterling, Principal Dawson greeted him surprised. I wasn't expecting you. I received your call about Leo, Caleb, and Noah, James said. I'm their guardian. The word hung in the air. Guardian, not employer, not mentor, but guardian. I see, Principal Dawson said. Well, there was an altercation in the boys' bathroom. The hockey players' parents arrived, casting disapproving glances at the triplets. After hearing all accounts, Principal Dawson assigned detention to everyone involved. As they were leaving, one father stopped James. Sterling, I understand your charitable intentions, but perhaps there are more appropriate accommodations for their situation. Their situation? James repeated coolly. You mean being part of my household? Being top students despite enormous challenges? Those situations? You know what I mean, the man muttered. Actually, I do, James replied. And I suggest you teach your son that character isn't determined by address or bank account. In the car driving home, the brothers sat silently until Leo finally spoke. You didn't have to do that. Do what? James asked. Come to school. Call yourself our guardian. But I am your guardian, James said simply. That's the arrangement we agreed to, isn't it? That evening, as Noah practiced in the sunroom, Leo showed James something he'd kept hidden, a small USB drive. These are the only pictures we have of our parents, he explained. James plugged it into his laptop and photos appeared on screen. A smiling woman with Noah's eyes, a tall man with Leo's serious expression and Caleb's observant gaze. Dad was an engineer for Blackwood Construction, Leo explained. Mom was a nurse at Austin Memorial. They met when Dad broke his arm at a building site. Blackwood Construction? James repeated, his interest piqued. Thomas Blackwood's company? Yes, Caleb confirmed. Dad worked there for 12 years. He was starting to talk about safety problems before the fire. What kind of problems? James asked carefully. He said they were cutting corners, using cheap materials, ignoring regulations. Leo's voice hardened. He was going to report them. Then the fire happened, Caleb added quietly. Electrical problem, they said. James's mind raced, connecting dots. His late wife Caroline had been building a case against several corporations for safety violations before her accident. Blackwood Industries had been one of them. I might look into this, James said casually, if that's okay with you. The brothers nodded, unaware of the significance. The next day during Chloe's physical therapy session, something remarkable happened. As her therapist stretched her legs, Chloe suddenly gasped. "I can feel that!" she exclaimed. "I can feel your hands on my ankle!" The therapist immediately called James, who arrived breathless from his office. "Show me," he said. The therapist touched various points on Chloe's legs, asking her to identify where the sensation occurred. Chloe correctly identified several spots. "This is very encouraging," the therapist said. "Sensation returning is the first step toward potential mobility." "Can I try something?" Chloe asked. With intense concentration, she focused on her right foot. Slowly, visibly, her big toe moved. James stared in disbelief. The doctors had said this level of recovery was unlikely. "How?" he whispered. "I've been practicing every night," Chloe admitted. "Like Noah taught me, imagining the movement before trying it." That night, as James downloaded old news reports about the Thompson house fire, a familiar company name appeared in the investigation documents. Blackwood Industries, the same corporation his late wife Caroline had been building a case against before the car accident that took her life. James stared at his computer screen, his mind racing. The connection was unmistakable. Blackwood Industries, the company the Thompson boys' father had worked for, the company Caroline had been investigating before her death. This couldn't be coincidence. Early the next morning, James entered Caroline's study, a room he rarely visited since her death. Her desk remained untouched, her papers in the same neat stacks she'd left them. He began searching methodically through drawers and files. In the bottom desk drawer, he found something unusual, a false bottom that slid away to reveal a hidden compartment. Inside lay a thick folder labeled Blackwood, Confidential. "What were you working on, Caroline?" he whispered, opening the file. Inside he found detailed notes about Blackwood Industries, interviews with former employees describing unsafe working conditions, medical records of injured workers, photos of construction sites with visible safety violations. Most disturbing were notes about suspected bribery of inspectors and intimidation of employees who raised concerns. One name appeared repeatedly in Caroline's notes: Mark Thompson, senior engineer, Leo, Caleb, and Noah's father. James found a transcript of an interview Caroline had conducted with Mark Thompson 6 months before the fire. "They're cutting corners everywhere, Mrs. Sterling. Using substandard materials, ignoring safety codes. When I reported it internally, my supervisor told me to mind my own business. Then strange things started happening. My files disappeared, my computer was hacked. Last week, my wife found our home security system disabled when she returned from work." James closed the file, his hands shaking. Had the Thompsons been murdered to silence them? Was Caroline's car accident truly an accident? He debated whether to share this information with the boys. They had already experienced so much trauma. Did they need to know their parents might have been targeted? While James grappled with this discovery, life in the Sterling household continued evolving. That afternoon, he found Noah helping Chloe with her physical therapy exercises in the sunroom. "Point your toes," Noah instructed gently. even if they don't move. Imagine the movement. I can do better than imagine, Chloe said with determination. Slowly, visibly, she flexed her foot. That's amazing, Noah exclaimed. You're getting stronger every day. Dr. Bennett says my nerve pathways are regenerating, Chloe explained. He's surprised by my progress. James watched silently from the doorway, his heart full. When Chloe had first come home from the hospital, doctors had been doubtful she would regain any sensation below her waist. Dad, Chloe called, noticing him. Watch what I can do now. She concentrated intensely, and 3 toes on her right foot wiggled slightly. That's incredible, James said, kneeling beside her wheelchair. You've been working hard. Noah says dance is about telling your body what to do until it listens, Chloe explained. So I talk to my legs every night. That evening during dinner, the atmosphere was lighter than it had been in months. Caleb proudly showed everyone the A+ he'd received on his art project. Leo discussed a science competition his teacher had encouraged him to enter. Noah demonstrated a new dance move he'd mastered, making everyone laugh. I have news, James announced when there was a pause in conversation. I've spoken with my legal team about establishing formal guardianship for Leo, Caleb, and Noah. The brothers froze. What does that mean exactly? Leo asked cautiously. It means I would have legal responsibility for you until you turn 18, James explained. You'd have a permanent home here, access to healthcare, education, everything you need. Why would you do that? Noah asked. James considered his words carefully. Because you 3 belong here now, with us. The triplets exchanged glances, their silent communication in full effect. We need time to think about it, Leo finally said. Of course, James nodded. It's a big decision. Later that night, a local news reporter named Melissa Chen was flipping through story ideas when a video caught her attention. 3 identical boys dancing with a young girl in a wheelchair. The girl was smiling brightly, performing arm movements in sync with the boys. Who are they? Melissa asked her producer. The Sterling girl and her dance therapists, the producer explained. Tech billionaire James Sterling hired 3 homeless triplets to help his daughter recover from trauma. She's talking and moving again after more than a year of silence. That's our next human interest story, Melissa decided. Set up an interview. 2 days later, Melissa and her crew arrived at the Sterling estate. They filmed Chloe demonstrating her progress, the triplets explaining their dance therapy approach, and James discussing the remarkable changes in his daughter. We call it movement dialogue, Noah explained on camera. When words are difficult, the body can speak instead. The segment aired the following evening on Austin's highest-rated news program, Miracle at Sterling House, How 3 Homeless Brothers Brought Healing Through Dance. In his downtown office, Thomas Blackwood watched the broadcast with growing alarm. He recognized the Thompson triplets immediately. Those are Mark Thompson's sons, he muttered, reaching for his phone. Get me everything on James Sterling and these boys. Now. Blackwood's investigation revealed that Sterling's late wife had been building a case against his company before her death. If the Thompson boys were living with Sterling, they might discover the connection. Worse, they might uncover evidence about their parents' deaths. We need to separate those boys from Sterling, Blackwood told his assistant. Find out about this custody battle with Sterling's mother-in-law. Within days, Margaret Watson received an unexpected phone call from an elite law firm offering to represent her pro bono in her custody case against James. We believe in your cause, the smooth-voiced attorney explained. A concerned citizens group wants to support you. Simultaneously, an anonymous complaint was filed with Child Protective Services, alleging that James was exploiting homeless minors for publicity. The social worker who arrived at the Sterling home the following Monday was professional but thorough. She interviewed each family member separately, starting with James. Mr. Sterling, please explain the nature of your relationship with the Thompson brothers, she requested. They began as therapeutic companions for my daughter. James replied honestly. "They've become part of our family." "And you're seeking guardianship?" "Yes," James confirmed. "They need stability, and we need them." The social worker spoke with each brother privately. Leo was reserved but respectful. Caleb was quiet but thoughtful in his responses. Noah was open and enthusiastic. Finally, she spoke with Chloe. "How do you feel about the boys living here?" she asked. "They're my brothers now," Chloe said simply. "Before they came, I couldn't talk. I couldn't laugh. I didn't want to try moving my legs because what was the point? Now, I have reasons." After the social worker left, James decided it was time to share his discoveries with the triplets. He found them in the pool house. "I need to show you something," he said, placing Caroline's folder on the table. "It's about your parents." The brothers gathered around as James carefully explained what he'd found. The connection between their father's work at Blackwood, Caroline's investigation, and the suspicious circumstances surrounding both tragedies. "Your father was a whistleblower," James explained. "He was reporting safety violations that could have cost Blackwood millions in fines and lawsuits." The boys stared at the documents in silence. Finally, Leo spoke. "Dad was acting strange before the fire," he said quietly. "Installing new locks, checking our phones for bugs, whatever those are. He made us promise to stay together no matter what," Caleb added. "You think someone killed them?" Noah asked, his voice trembling. "I don't know," James answered honestly, "but I think we should find out. Together." "What about your wife?" Leo asked. "Her car accident?" "Caroline was building a case against several corporations for safety violations," James explained. "Blackwood was one of them. Her brake lines failed on a straight stretch of road with no witnesses. The gravity of the situation settled over them. If their suspicions were correct, they were dealing with a powerful enemy." "What do we do?" Caleb asked. "We gather evidence," James said, carefully, without alerting Blackwood. Over the next few days, they developed a system. James used his technological expertise to create secure communication channels. The triplets reviewed all their memories of their father's behavior before the fire, writing down every detail. Noah had an unexpected insight. "Our dance videos! We performed all over the city for months. What if something important is in the backgrounds?" They began reviewing footage, looking for Blackwood properties, employees, or anything unusual captured accidentally while they danced. Caleb created a timeline on a large board in the pool house, connecting all events related to Blackwood Industries, their parents, and Caroline's accident. As they pieced together evidence, they received an unexpected invitation to the annual Austin Business Leadership Gala where both James and Blackwood would be receiving awards. "Blackwood will be there?" Leo asked, studying the invitation. "Yes," James confirmed. "He's getting a humanitarian award." "That's convenient," Leo said. "It's perfect," James corrected. "A public venue with witnesses, press, and security. If we're going to confront him, this is our chance." "Is it safe?" Caleb worried. James showed them Blackwood's publicity photo from the gala program. The man was smiling broadly, his hand extended in a friendly gesture, but his eyes remained cold. Leo studied the image. "He looks like a predator who's already selected his prey." "He doesn't just look like a predator," James said, setting down Blackwood's photo. "He is one, and the gala is our chance to expose him." The week before the Austin Business Leadership Gala passed in a blur of preparation. James and the triplets worked tirelessly to organize their evidence against Blackwood. Noah reviewed hours of their street dance videos, finding several that showed Blackwood meeting with officials who later ruled the Thompson house fire an accident. Caleb created visual timelines connecting these meetings to inspection reports. Leo compiled medical records from his mother's old workplace showing injuries from Blackwood construction sites. 3 days before the gala, James called the boys into his study. "I have something for you," he said, opening 3 garment bags hanging on his door. Inside were 3 identical black suits, crisp white shirts and blue ties. "You got us suits?" Noah asked, touching the fabric with wonder. "You can't take down a corporate criminal in jeans," James smiled. "Go try them on." The triplets disappeared into separate rooms and emerged minutes later looking transformed. The tailored suits fit perfectly, making them appear older and more imposing. "I don't recognize myself," Caleb said, staring at his reflection. "You look like Dad," Leo said quietly, "in his wedding photo." James cleared his throat, clearly emotional. "There's one more detail we need to discuss. Chloe has been asking to attend the gala." "Is that safe?" Leo asked immediately. "I don't know," James admitted. "Blackwood doesn't know how much she understands about our investigation." When they asked Chloe directly, her answer was firm. "I need to be there," she insisted. "I need to see the man who might have hurt their parents, and who definitely hurt my mom." "It could be dangerous," James warned. Chloe's eyes flashed with determination. "I'm not afraid anymore. Noah taught me that being brave doesn't mean not feeling scared. It means doing things even when you are scared." The night of the gala arrived. The ballroom of the Austin Grand Hotel glittered with crystal chandeliers and floral arrangements. Business leaders, politicians, and celebrities mingled in expensive clothes, sipping champagne and networking. When James Sterling arrived with Chloe in her wheelchair and 3 identical young men in perfect suits, conversations paused. Whispers followed them through the room. "Isn't that the Sterling girl? The one who couldn't speak? Those are the triplets from the news story, the dancers. I heard they're homeless boys Sterling took in." James greeted colleagues with practiced ease while the triplets remained alert, watching for Blackwood. Their plan was simple but risky. During James's acceptance speech, Noah would connect their evidence to the gala's display screens. When Blackwood took the stage for his award, everyone would see the truth. "He just arrived," Caleb whispered, noticing Blackwood entering with an entourage of assistants and security. Thomas Blackwood was a tall man with silver hair and an expensive smile. He worked the room with practiced charm, shaking hands and laughing at jokes. When he spotted James and the triplets, his smile flickered briefly before returning stronger than before. "James Sterling," Blackwood approached, hand extended. "Congratulations on your Innovation Award." James shook his hand firmly. "Thomas, congratulations on your Humanitarian Award." The irony of the title wasn't lost on anyone in their group. Blackwood's eyes moved to the triplets, recognition clearly visible. "These must be the famous Thompson brothers I've seen on the news," he said smoothly. "Such an inspiring story." "Our parents worked for your company," Leo said directly. Blackwood didn't flinch. "Did they? I have thousands of employees, I can't recall everyone. Mark Thompson," Leo continued, "senior engineer. And Sarah Thompson," Noah added, "nurse at the company clinic." "Ah," Blackwood nodded, his expression carefully controlled. "The unfortunate fire victims. Tragic accident." "Was it?" Caleb asked quietly. Before Blackwood could respond, the event organizer announced that the award ceremony would begin in 5 minutes. Blackwood excused himself, but not before giving the group a cold stare that contained a clear warning. "He knows we know," Leo whispered. "Good," James replied. "Let him worry." The triplets positioned themselves strategically around the ballroom as planned, Leo near the main exit, Caleb by the side door, Noah close to the AV control booth. Chloe stayed near the stage where James would speak. The lights dimmed as the Master of Ceremonies welcomed everyone. "Our first award tonight is the Innovation in Technology Award, presented to James Sterling for his groundbreaking security software that protects millions of Americans." Applause filled the room as James took the stage. He accepted the crystal trophy with a smile, then moved to the microphone. His speech began conventionally enough, thanking his team and investors. Then his tone changed. Innovation isn't just about technology, James said. Sometimes it's about finding new ways to create family. 2 years ago, I lost my wife Caroline, and my daughter Chloe lost her voice and her ability to walk. We were broken in ways I couldn't fix with money or technology. The audience was silent, captivated. Then 3 remarkable young men came into our lives by chance, or perhaps by design. They taught us that family isn't about who shares your DNA, it's about who shares your journey. James looked directly at Blackwood in the audience. They also taught us that truth eventually surfaces no matter how deeply it's buried. During the applause, Noah slipped a thumb drive into the gala's AV system. James returned to his seat beside Chloe, squeezing her hand gently. Ready? Chloe nodded, her face determined. Thomas Blackwood approached the stage next, waving to the crowd with practiced humility. As he began his acceptance speech about corporate responsibility, the screens around the ballroom suddenly changed. Video clips appeared showing Blackwood meeting with officials in parking lots, handing over envelopes. Timestamps connected these meetings to inspection reports clearing Blackwood properties despite documented violations. Medical records showed worker injuries systematically covered up. A timeline appeared linking these events to the Thompson house fire and Caroline Sterling's car accident. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Blackwood stopped mid-sentence, staring at the screens in shock. His face hardened as he scanned the room, finding James and the triplets watching him. "This is slander," Blackwood announced into the microphone. "These images are manipulated. Sterling is attempting corporate sabotage." But the evidence continued playing. Caroline Sterling's voice from recorded interviews with whistleblowers, documents bearing Blackwood's signature on falsified safety reports, and finally, the fire inspector who ruled the Thompson fire accidental, depositing a large check into his account the next day. Blackwood dropped all pretense. He rushed from the stage toward the nearest exit, only to find Leo blocking his path. "Move, boy," Blackwood growled. "No," Leo said simply. Blackwood turned toward another exit, but Caleb stood there. The third doorway revealed Noah. Surrounded and exposed, Blackwood grew desperate. He grabbed the nearest hostage, Chloe in her wheelchair. "Let me leave or she gets hurt," he threatened loudly. The room fell silent. Security officers started moving through the crowd. "You're making it worse," James said calmly, though his eyes blazed with anger. "You ruined me!" Blackwood shouted, his carefully cultivated image completely shattered. "Just like your wife tried to do. Just like Thompson tried to do. I take care of problems in my company. I always have." Chloe remained remarkably calm in his grip. She caught Noah's eye across the room and subtly nodded. In one fluid motion, she spun her wheelchair wheels backward, rolling over Blackwood's foot with surprising force. He yelped in pain, loosening his grip enough for her to wheel away. Security officers swarmed immediately, restraining Blackwood. 2 police officers who had been attending the gala as guests stepped forward, taking him into custody. "You recorded all that, right?" Chloe asked James, pulling her phone from her dress pocket. "Because I did." He just confessed to everything. News cameras captured the entire scene. The story would dominate headlines for weeks. The tech billionaire, the homeless triplets, and the corporate criminal brought down by their combined efforts. As cameras flashed and security led Blackwood away in handcuffs, the triplets stood with James and Chloe in a unified front, and Leo whispered to his brothers, "Mom and Dad can rest now, but our story is just beginning." The ballroom erupted into chaos. Security guards escorted Blackwood away while reporters rushed forward, cameras flashing. James placed a protective arm around Chloe's shoulders as event staff tried to restore order. "You 3 did it!" Chloe beamed at the triplets. "You got justice for your parents." Leo stood still, emotions washing over his face. They would have been proud of us for staying together, for finishing what they started. A reporter pushed through the crowd. "Mr. Sterling, can we get a statement about what just happened?" James looked at the triplets questioningly. Leo nodded slightly. Tonight, the truth about Thomas Blackwood was revealed, James said carefully. His company's negligence led to multiple deaths, including Mark and Sarah Thompson, parents of these 3 remarkable young men. My late wife Caroline was building a case against Blackwood before her own suspicious car accident. We believe justice is finally beginning. In the weeks that followed, Blackwood Industries crumbled under intense scrutiny. Thomas Blackwood faced multiple criminal charges: fraud, bribery, reckless endangerment, and obstruction of justice. Investigations into the Thompson house fire and Caroline Sterling's accident were reopened. Former Blackwood employees came forward with their own stories of intimidation and cover-ups. Each new revelation validated what the Thompson brothers had suspected but could never prove. Their parents had been silenced deliberately. One morning in January, the doorbell rang at the Sterling home. James opened it to find Margaret Watson standing on the doorstep, her usual stern expression replaced with uncertainty. "Margaret," James greeted her cautiously, "this is unexpected." "May I come in?" she asked. In the living room, Margaret sat stiffly, declining offers of tea or coffee. "I've withdrawn my custody petition," she announced without preamble. James blinked in surprise. "Why the change of heart?" "I watched the news," Margaret admitted. "I saw what those boys did for Chloe at the gala. How she responded when that man grabbed her." She paused. "Carolyn would have approved of the family you've created." "Thank you," James said quietly. "That means a lot. I still expect regular visits with my granddaughter," Margaret added, some of her usual sharpness returning. "And holidays." "Of course," James agreed. After she left, James found the triplets in the pool house studying for midterm exams. Margaret withdrew the custody petition, he told them. "The hearing is cancelled." "That's great news," Noah said, looking up from his textbook. "It means we need to discuss what happens next," James continued. "The temporary guardianship expires in 3 weeks. Leo set down his pen. "What are you suggesting?" "I've submitted paperwork to make the guardianship permanent," James explained. "The hearing is scheduled for next Friday." The brothers exchanged glances. "We'll be there," Leo said. The courtroom was crowded on the day of the hearing. News of the Blackwood scandal had made the Sterling Thompson story national news. Reporters waited outside, hoping for photographs or statements. Judge Eleanor Rivera reviewed the case files carefully. "This is an unusual situation," she noted. 3 16-year-old boys with no living relatives, currently in the temporary custody of James Sterling. "Yes, Your Honor," James's lawyer confirmed, "and all parties are in agreement about making this arrangement permanent until the boys reach 18? The judge asked. "Yes, Your Honor," the triplets answered in unison. After reviewing the documentation and interviewing each person privately, Judge Rivera made her decision. "Based on the evidence presented and the clear bond that has formed between all parties, I approve the petition for permanent guardianship. Mr. Sterling will have legal responsibility for Leonardo, Caleb, and Noah Thompson until they reach the age of 18. The courtroom erupted in applause. James shook hands with his lawyer while Chloe clapped enthusiastically from her wheelchair. As the judge prepared to close the proceedings, James stepped forward. "Your Honor, if I may make one additional statement." "Go ahead, Mr. Sterling." James turned to face the courtroom. "While today's guardianship ruling is wonderful news, I want to publicly state my intention to offer these young men something more permanent. Once they've had time to consider it, I hope to formally adopt them, if that's what they want." The triplets stared at James in shock. This wasn't part of their discussions or expectations. Outside the courthouse, they found a moment of privacy. "Adoption?" Leo asked, his voice tight. "You want to adopt us?" "Only if you want it," James assured them. "Guardianship gives you a home until you're 18. Adoption would make you legally my sons, forever." "But we'd be Sterlings," Leo said. "We wouldn't be Thompsons anymore." "That's not necessarily true," James explained. "You could hyphenate, become Sterling Thompsons." "We need to think about this," Leo said, looking overwhelmed. That evening, the brothers gathered in the pool house to discuss James's offer. "I want to do it," Noah said immediately. "We belong here. We're already family in every way that matters." "I agree," Caleb nodded, "and we'd still be Thompsons. Just with an addition, not a replacement." Leo paced the room. "Mom and Dad wanted us together more than anything. They'd be happy we found a home." He stopped. "But it feels like we're replacing them." A soft knock interrupted their discussion. Chloe wheeled herself into the room. "I heard you talking," she admitted, "about the adoption." "What do you think?" Noah asked her. "I think you're scared," Chloe said, looking at Leo, "like I was after my accident. I didn't want to try getting better because I thought it meant forgetting Mom. Like if I moved forward, I was leaving her behind." Leo sat beside her wheelchair. "How did you get past that?" "I realized Mom would want me to be happy," Chloe said simply. "Just like your parents would want you to have a family again. Having my dad didn't mean I was replacing my mom. Having a new last name doesn't mean you're replacing your parents." The brothers were quiet, absorbing her words. "When did you get so wise?" Leo asked with a small smile. "When I started talking again," Chloe grinned. "The next morning the triplets found James in his study. "We've made a decision," Leo announced. "We want to become Sterling Thompsons." James's face broke into a wide smile. "I'm honored. Truly. But we have conditions," Leo continued. "We want to establish a foundation in our parents' names to help other kids who lost families because of corporate negligence, and to provide dance therapy for kids with disabilities," Noah added. "We can start planning immediately," James agreed. As winter turned to spring, Chloe's medical progress continued to surprise her doctors. At her quarterly evaluation, Dr. Bennett tested her leg sensation. "Can you feel this?" he asked, touching her knee. "Yes," Chloe nodded. "It's stronger now. Less tingly." "Remarkable," Dr. Bennett muttered, making notes. "The nerve regeneration is exceeding all projections." "Can you show me your foot movement again?" Chloe concentrated, moving her toes and rotating her right ankle slightly. "Have you been doing something different in your therapy?" the doctor asked. "Noah has been teaching me dance movements," Chloe explained. "We practice every day. He says dance is about talking to your body until it listens." Dr. Bennett smiled. "Well, your body is definitely listening now." As Chloe's 13th birthday approached, the triplets worked secretly on a special surprise. Every day after school, they disappeared into the remodeled garage that James had converted into a dance studio. "No peeking," they warned Chloe whenever she tried to investigate. On the morning of her birthday, James wheeled Chloe into the living room, which had been transformed. Chairs were arranged in rows facing a cleared space decorated with soft lights. Family friends and Chloe's classmates filled the seats, including Margaret in the front row. "What's happening?" Chloe asked, excited. "Your birthday present," James explained, positioning her wheelchair at the front. The lights dimmed, and music began playing softly. The triplets appeared in matching blue shirts, performing a beautiful sequence they had choreographed specifically for Chloe. Halfway through, Noah approached Chloe. "This next part includes you." He wheeled her into the performance space. The music changed to a song about healing and hope. Noah guided Chloe through arm movements while Leo and Caleb danced around them. Then, in a moment that brought gasps from the audience, Chloe demonstrated her new abilities, her feet moving in rhythm, her ankles rotating to the beat. The wheelchair became part of the dance, a tool rather than a limitation. When the music ended, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. "That was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," Margaret whispered, hugging Chloe afterward. "We're going to perform it at the foundation launch next month," Noah explained, "to show what dance therapy can do." After the guests left, Chloe found the triplets in the kitchen helping with cleanup. "That was the best birthday ever," she told them. Thank you for making me part of your dance." "You've always been part of it," Leo said, "from the first day in the garden." As journalists clamored for interviews about their story and James fielded calls from publishers and film producers, he gathered his new family together and asked, "What if we used all this attention to help other kids like you were, and other children with disabilities like Chloe, planting the seed for something that would grow beyond anything they could have imagined? What if we used all this attention to help others?" James's question hung in the air as the family sat together in their living room. That single question sparked something powerful in all of them, a shared vision for the future. 1 year later, the Sterling Thompson family stood on a stage at the grand opening of the First Step Forward Foundation building. James cut the ribbon across the entrance while hundreds of people applauded. "1 year ago, we were strangers," James told the crowd. "Today, we're family, and this foundation is our way of creating more families like ours." The Step Forward Foundation had grown from an idea into reality faster than anyone expected. Using James's business expertise and the triplets' first-hand experience, they created 2 main programs: housing for homeless youth and dance therapy for children with disabilities. "This is just the beginning," James continued. "Today, we open our first integrated housing facility with 20 apartments for homeless teens. The building includes dance studios, classrooms, and medical facilities." Behind him stood Leo, Caleb, and Noah, now high school seniors preparing for graduation. Chloe sat in her wheelchair, though she now used it less often for short distances. After the ceremony, Leo gave tours of the medical clinic he had helped design. "Every resident gets full health care," he explained to visitors. "Regular checkups, medications, mental health support, everything I wish we'd had when we were homeless." Leo's passion for medicine had grown stronger throughout the year. His excellent grades and powerful personal story had earned him acceptance letters from several prestigious pre-med programs. "Harvard Medical School is my top choice," Leo told a reporter who asked about his plans. "I want to become a pediatric neurologist to help kids like Chloe who have spinal injuries." In another part of the building, Caleb showed off the architectural designs for future foundation locations. "Each building is designed with both physical and emotional healing in mind," Caleb explained, pointing to his detailed drawings. "Natural light, open spaces, private areas for quiet reflection, everything works together." Caleb had discovered his talent for design and would begin studying architecture at University of Texas in the fall. His professors already praised his innovative approach to creating spaces that promoted healing. In the main dance studio, Noah led a demonstration class with children in wheelchairs. His natural teaching ability shined as he guided them through movements adapted to their abilities. "Dance isn't about what you can't do," Noah told them. "It's about discovering what you can do." Unlike his brothers, Noah had chosen to attend a local dance academy despite receiving scholarship offers from prestigious programs across the country. "I need to stay close to help with the foundation," he explained when asked about his choice. "These kids need consistency. Besides, Chloe and I are dance partners now." Chloe had become the young face of the foundation, speaking to groups about her journey. At 13, she now had sensation throughout her legs and could stand for short periods with support. "Before I met the triplets, I didn't speak for 14 months, she told visitors. "Now I can't stop talking, and I can move parts of my body doctors said would never work again." That evening, after the opening celebration ended, the family gathered at home for a quiet dinner. "I have news," James announced. "The adoption paperwork is finally ready. The ceremony is scheduled for next Thursday at the courthouse." The triplets exchanged excited glances. The process had taken longer than expected due to complications from their time as runaways and their unusual situation. "Judge Rivera will officiate," James continued. "The same judge who approved my guardianship." "Can we invite people?" Noah asked. "Of course," James smiled. "It's a celebration. Will we get new IDs with Sterling Thompson on them?" Caleb wanted to know. Yes, everything will officially change. Birth certificates, social security cards, school records, James confirmed. Leo grew quiet, staring at his plate. The others noticed his silence. "What's wrong, Leo?" Chloe asked gently. "I was thinking about Mom and Dad," Leo admitted. "If they could see us now. Part of me feels guilty for being so happy when they're gone." James reached across the table to touch Leo's hand. "Your parents would be incredibly proud of the men you three have become. Finding a new family doesn't diminish what they meant to you." "I know," Leo nodded. "It's just emotional to think about making it official." The following week, the Sterling Thompson family gathered at the courthouse. The adoption ceremony was simple but meaningful. Judge Rivera welcomed everyone warmly. "I remember when you first came before me," she said to James and the triplets. "You were asking for temporary guardianship. Now here you are making a permanent family. It's cases like this that remind me why I love my job." One by one, the brothers signed the adoption papers. When Leo, the last to sign, put down the pen, Judge Rivera made it official. "By the power vested in me by the state of Texas, I hereby declare Leonardo, Caleb, and Noah to be the legally adopted sons of James Sterling, with all rights and privileges. From this day forward, you will be known as the Sterling Thompson family." The small courtroom erupted in applause from the gathered friends, foundation staff, and even Margaret, who dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. Outside the courthouse, they found a surprise waiting. Dozens of children from the foundation stood holding signs that read, "Welcome to your forever family" and "Dance your way home." "Did you plan this?" James asked Chloe, who grinned mischievously. "Maybe," she admitted, "with a little help from Mrs. Chen and the foundation staff." That evening, as the sun began to set, the family gathered in the garden where it all began, where three desperate boys had chased a $50 bill over a wall and found a lonely girl staring at a butterfly. "It looks different now," Caleb observed. Indeed, the garden had been transformed. James had added a small performance area with smooth flooring where Chloe could practice with her wheelchair. Benches surrounded the space for audiences during family performances. "This is where everything changed," Noah said. "Right here." "I have something to show you all," Chloe announced. With determined concentration, she rose from her wheelchair and, using a walking frame, took 5 careful steps forward. "Chloe!" James gasped. "When did you—" "I've been practicing in physical therapy," she explained, beaming with pride. "I wanted it to be a surprise for today." "That's amazing," Leo said, medical knowledge making him especially appreciative of the milestone. "Now we can all dance together," Noah said, moving to Chloe's side. "A new routine for a new beginning." The family moved to the center of the garden performance space. Even James joined in as Noah led them through simple movements that everyone could follow. Chloe used her walking frame as part of the dance, incorporating both her wheelchair and her new mobility. As the sun cast long shadows across the garden, 5 silhouettes moved in harmony, different yet connected, each contributing their unique strength to create something beautiful together. "A year ago, I asked what we could do with our story," James said as they finished their dance. "I never imagined it would become this. The foundation helped 27 homeless teens find housing this month alone," Leo reported proudly, "and the dance therapy program has 85 children enrolled," Noah added. "Next month we break ground on the 2nd location in Dallas," Caleb reminded them. Chloe, settling back into her wheelchair after her exertion, smiled at her family. "And we're just getting started." They remained in the garden as stars appeared overhead. The same garden where 3 homeless triplets had once danced for a silent girl now witnessed the celebration of a family bound not by blood, but by choice, compassion, and the courage to open doors when others would have built walls. "I used to think my greatest accomplishment was building Sterling Technologies," James said softly. "Now I know it's this, our family and the foundation we've created together." Leo looked at his brothers, then at James and Chloe. Mom used to say that family is where you find it. She was right. As darkness fell completely, they walked together toward the house that had become home to all of them, a beacon of light in a world that had once seemed so dark, proving that sometimes the most profound miracles happen when we welcome those society has forgotten into our hearts. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.